Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Jam and Java, coming to you live from sunny Simi Valley, California. I hate to say that to everybody back east, although from what I hear, talked to my brother from Texas yesterday. He said it was 75 down there, so we're getting back to some kind of normalcy. Now we need to get past this pandemic, right? Amen. So tonight I am so excited because this is going to be an amazing show. As you all know, if you know me at all, I love Hammond organ. And tonight we have two of the most brilliant Hammond organ artists in the world. And you're going to meet them in a few minutes. And so it's really... Oh, Toby Simmons says 82 degrees in Encino. Okay, don't rub it into to all our friends from the East Coast here. Like I said, we're going to have a couple of Hammond artists here. I will mention their names just a little bit later. And I see Carlos Etzberger, my buddy from Brazil. So we got South America in the house. Who else is here? Well, we've got Larry Vasaki coming from Cleveland, Ohio. We've got Scott Robinson, my brother from Columbus, Ohio. Jefferson Rodriguez coming into us. I don't know where you're coming in from, Jefferson. Let's see. We had a little bit of a scramble here. Thank you, Carla. Carla just delivered my coffee. Thank you, dear. We had a little bit of a scramble here about the last half hour. I had no internet. And trying to scramble to figure out what the heck we're going to do with no internet because, but it's back working. So just a heads up, in case you lose us, that means there's something going down with the internet, and I have not been able to, I wasn't even able to get through to Spectrum because they weren't even accepting calls. So enough jabber. Let's start with a word of prayer. We always do on Jam and Java, and we're going to bring in our resident chaplain, Pastor Chuck Pearson. Take it away, Pastor Chuck.
Good evening, everybody. I hope this finds you well tonight. I am amazed at some of the ways in which the church is able to do things during this pandemic. Hopefully that pandemic is going to be over soon and we can go back to some semblance of normality. But think about the way we're able to do some of the things. I think it was about a year ago, Jam and Java was meeting in the fellowship hall of our church, and admittedly the audience was a little bit limited because of the size of the area in which we met. And now, tonight, we've got people from all over the country, perhaps all over the world, who are tuning in to hear what Robbie has to share with us. Think about what churches are doing in worship through the internet, through their own personal lines that they have through Facebook and stuff like that. We meet and discuss things through Zoom and other platforms. It's not what we would like it to be. It's not what it used to be, but it's still helpful. It's inventive and it meets some of the needs which we have. And so it's interesting the way in which God is able to work. Except I think the one thing that we really miss more than anything is that personal, physical interaction that we had, the ability to grab a friend in a hug or to shake hands. And I think in a lot of ways we seem more isolated and alone. And that probably is probably the biggest problem that we have. But Jesus said to us, "Never will I leave you, and never will I forsake you." And I think the inventive ways in which the church is gathering and sharing its message is proof of that, because God is able to work through whatever our circumstances, whatever things we're going through, whatever our situation might be. God is still able to be at work, and he's still able to help us and comfort us. And I know that there are times in our lives, all of us wonder from time to time, where is God when we have difficulties or when we're going through tough times? And the answer is he's right beside us. Never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. God does not abandon his own. That's his promise, and he keeps his promises. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we pray this evening that you would be with all who are sick, who feel isolated because of this pandemic. We ask you, Heavenly Father, not only for curing and an end to this pandemic, but also be with each and every one of us that tune into this program tonight. Be with those that are especially that feel sick or isolated. Help our faith and our trust to soar. And may we find our hope and our confidence in you and what you are doing in our lives. Show us your power and strength at work through our faith. Father, we ask you to bless Robbie and his guests tonight. Help us to rejoice in all of your gifts to us, and especially the gift of music and song. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. So, Robbie, I hope you're going to play some of that fantastic music you played at church yesterday. Have a great evening, everyone. God bless.
Thank you, Pastor. We are going to play some fantastic music, so I hope you guys are ready. Like I said, tonight is HamFam Hang Night, and we've got some brilliant musicians that are going to be our guests tonight, and I'm so excited. My buddies from the Hammond organ artists, and I don't have any really game plan. I tend to improvise most of my life, as a matter of fact. We start, I think, with some, we'll answer some comments here. Pete Lausches, who is a Hammond organ player from St. Louis. I knew him we took piano lessons from the same piano teacher in Mount Olive, Illinois. Hey, nice to see you, Pete. And I saw Pete is working on his new record, so good luck with that. Tammy Cortland. Oh, she's telling me now. It was Spectrum telling us not until 10:30. Woo. Wow, I'm glad that we've got it back. If we lose power, by the way, if you lose the show, that means our internet went out because it's been very spotty this evening. Let's see here. Linda Laird from Litchfield, my hometown, Litchfield, Illinois, in the house. Sandy Kruger is watching. Ruth Kralovich from Nevada is watching. Giancarlo Robles Feliciano is watching. Let's see, Sandy Kruger. Don Millette, saxophone player from Chicago area that he was in one of my early bands. Karen Switzler watching. Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining us. J.C. Gafford. Spectrum is entirely special. Yeah, I know. Can't live with them, you can't live without them. What are you going to do? So I think a good way to start with this tonight, I'm going to bring on our guests one at a time instead of piling up all at the beginning here. And I'm going to start with a video. This is with a band called Organissimo, or Organissimo, maybe. Hey, John Hammond is in the house. He's a great Hammond organ player. But Organissimo is the brainchild of Jim Albertson. Jim Alfredson. Sorry, Jim. Jim Albertson is also a buddy. Jim Alfredson, who is one of the most brilliant organ players on the planet. And he's from Michigan. And I'm just going to play his song for you to start off, and then we'll bring Jim on. So, Organissimo, Vanetta. Burning. Let's bring on Jim Alfredson here. Let's see if I can do this. We'll pretty minute. Jim Alfredson, hello, buddy. Let me unmute you. See here. How about that?
Hey, there I am.
There he is. Burning, man. Is that your tune?
No, that's a tune by Errol Klugh.
Oh, Errol Klugh.
Yeah, great Detroit guitarist Errol Klugh, who our guitarist Larry Barris is good friends with him, so we love to do that tune.
So where are you coming from? I know it's Michigan somewhere.
Lansing, Michigan, the great capital of our fair state. And it's actually got up to, I think it got up to 28 degrees today, so that's pretty good.
Okay, so maybe we won't belabor the weather back for you. Then somebody was just saying what the temperature was out here. I forgot what it was here on one of these comments. 82 degrees in Encino today. So
that's too hot, man. You got to come over here.
It is. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys were burning out there on that organ. So no wonder you're smoking so much. So,
thanks, man.
HamFam, man, it's such a cool thing to be part of the HamFam, and it's so cool to see you be a part of it. You're not only one of the premier members, if I might, of HamFam, but you are one of the main product specialists, demonstrators, all that kind of stuff. And how long have you been associated with Hammond organ?
I think since 2007. It's actually kind of a funny story. I hauled around a real B3 for almost 10 years, and I'm sure you know how that is.
I know the drill, yeah.
Yes, it's a beast.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was hauling it solo and going in and out of bad clubs with high stages, and it wasn't good. So long story short, I hurt my back and had to have surgery, just a minor surgery to fix a herniated disc, but it was enough to make me say, okay, I got to find an alternative here because I can't haul this thing around anymore. And I went into my local music store, Marshall Music, and I played the XK3 system.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I thought, man, I got to get one of these. And I decided to send my CDs to Hammond just to see maybe if I could get, on their artist program and talk to Scotty. And we became great friends, and the rest is history. So,
wow. Since 2000. Well, I know the drill about schlepping Hammond organs around.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy who was one of the local Hammond organ guys here, and he was doing those gigs by himself too. And he had of course his roller carries with the B3, but he has vans set up with these two wood panel things. They would bring him down, and then he was able to put it in himself. So
that would be the smart way to do it. I did it the dumb way, which is just deadlifting the thing into the car, into the van. Yeah.
Well, and now that we have these new toys since that first go around, and the new new stuff.
I got mine right here.
Is that your SK Pro?
Yeah.
Awesome. You know what? And to me, this is every now and then you come in with a new instrument, but we can get into this in a minute. But that's a game changer, and this is a game changer, brother.
It is. When I was really excited to finally be able to talk about this, because I think I saw the prototype maybe 2-3 years ago.
Wow.
And, and my first question was like, okay, what's the organ engine? Is it the one from the XK5? Because the XK5 is killer.
Amen.
And it is. And then to have all the other sounds in it, it's just, I mean, you could do any gig with this keyboard. It's amazing.
And you and I and our next guest have been able to put together 3 SK Pros in a trio setting.
Yeah.
We're going to play that for the audience here in a minute. But I think it's time to bring on that next guest. And he is one of the premier organ players in the country. And I would say a jazz organist, but I don't want to limit him because he's such a broad musician, and his music encompasses such a broad kind of stylistic spectrum. But I think we'll start with by playing one of his songs, and it goes something like this. Yeah, man, that was burning. Let's see if I can get Brian into the picture here. Let's see here. If I go here, there he is.
Hello.
Right in the house.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi there, man. Hey, let me get Jim back in. There we
Hey,
are.
Jim.
Hey. What's up,
Jim
man?
Alfredson knows that A100.
I do.
Why? Where's that A100 from?
That is an acoustic recording in Brooklyn. Michael Brorby, Jim just recorded there. Record label named Positone. That's who you recorded for over there, right, Jim?
That's correct. It's
Okay.
it actually
So they make
coming out. Look at that.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Michael Deese, incredible trombonist.
Yeah.
So that's where Positone Records makes their recordings. And it's a really beautiful A100.
Yeah.
Sounding great, man. Well, let me introduce you to the audience here, to my Jam and Java audience. To my right there is my Goomba, my brother, my one of my favorite organ players, one of my favorite musicians, Mr. Brian CHARETTE. Welcome to Jam and Java.
Thanks for having me, Robbie.
So I've been wanting to do this ever since I started this online kind of thing. Some Hammond-centric thing, some HamFam thing. And you and I talked a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, and so you got me motivated to do this. And then Jim said,
well, I'm a big fan. I follow your show. You know, your guests, so interesting to hear them interviewed. One of my first recordings was Jan and Dean, Drag City. We were talking about that. So, I watched your show 2 weeks ago with great interest, of course.
Well, thanks. And it's been fun for me because I think all musicians, if you're a serious musician, you're a fan on some level, wouldn't you say?
Sure.
And you and I, and all three of us, are fans of the Hammond organ.
That's true.
My first Hammond organ I got. I started playing keyboards in groups in the '60s. When I was 14 years old. My first organ was actually I had a Thomas Spinet organ that I literally played. But then I soon got a Farfisa, so I was rocking and rolling for a while on a Farfisa. And then I heard the Vox, and the Vox is hip, and it had some drawbar action. So I got the Vox, and I was playing the Vox. Then when we did a gig, and there was a Hammond organ there. And as soon as I played that, I had to get rid of all the other things, and I haven't gone back. I bought my first Hammond organ used, and I still have it. It's a C3 with two 122 Leslies. I bought it from Bob Pyle, who is a Hammond organ artist as well now. So Jim Alfredson, tell us about your first Hammond.
I lucked out because my father was a musician. And he was a guitarist, but he loved Hammond organ, so he had a B3 when I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, and he actually used to haul it out to the gigs and play a little bit of organ, but he mostly played guitar and the bass pedals on the Hammond at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of his little solo show. And then he, I think, sold it probably when I was, 5 or 6 years old. And I never forgave him for it. He bought me
Dad, what are you doing?
He bought me a little Yamaha organ to make up for it, and I learned how to play on that because it was one of those ones with the magnetic cards that you pass through it, and it would teach you how to play these little songs, and with the light up keys. And then when I was probably 13 or 14, I got an M3 and a Leslie, and then finally got a B3 again when I was probably 17, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, you can't go back with a B3 until these new ones come out. So, like Jim and I were talking about earlier, Brian, that the new organs have been game changers. I mean, the SK5 and the SK Pro. The SK1 was a game changer for me. That was the first time I really felt like I could play a quote-unquote clone wheel, whatever you want to call them, a non-vintage organ, live. So, what was your first organ, Brian?
I had an M3, also was my first organ. I played in a rock band when I was in high school, and I actually played bass in the band. So I started to play gigs on bass before keyboards. I don't know why that is, but I played bass in this rock band. I had a BC Rich Warlock bass.
So you were a rock and roller.
Rocker!
And the guy who I was friends with him, he bought an M3 because I played keyboards on some songs too. We played 3 Led Zeppelin songs, no singer, super duper pro. But it was actually a very cool band and a very good formative experience for me.
Where was that in the country? Where are you from?
This was in Meriden, Connecticut, which is where I am from. So that was the first time I touched an organ, but I didn't get really, I was playing a lot of piano until I moved to New York, and then I started to play a lot of Hammond, and then I got actually a CV1000.
I don't know that organ.
Very old. It has ratchet drawbars.
Yeah, I remember
but it's
CV, but I don't know the 1000.
What's that, Robbie?
I said I know the CVs, but I don't know 1000.
Yeah, this is very, very old. And I had it in a studio on the Lower East Side, and I would play. Actually, I learned to play at gigs on Jack McDuff's organ, which is in Showman in Harlem.
No wonder you play so good. It rubbed off on you, man.
It was, I actually only found that out very recently after playing that organ for, that was 27 years ago at this point, so.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
one of the formative things for me as playing organ, because I got in this little in St. Louis. I'm from the St. Louis area, Southern Illinois, but close to St. Louis, and I was in this little trio, but the drummer had played with Jimmy Smith, and the drummer gave me a lot of pointers about playing left-hand bass and stuff like on that, and then we would play these 4 hour night gigs on this riverboat in St. Louis. Then we would go after hours to East St. Louis and play these little jazz joints. And this guy, he was older than me, this jazz drummer, and it was really great for me. And one of the things that I remember about him was, we would play from like 4 to 6 in the morning with him, over there. So it was like quite a learning experience. But that just having those guys point out some of that. So, I figured that was always all foot, that Jimmy Smith would do until I really started. He clued me in. How about you,
That's right.
Jim? Tell us about where you're from, and are you originally from Lansing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I was raised in a tiny little town south of Lansing called Mason. It's a little farming community, but it's the Lansing area. And speaking of the bass line thing, I thought the same thing, that Jimmy Smith was playing bass pedals, and I didn't understand how it worked until I saw Dr. Lonnie Smith at a club in Ann Arbor. And I asked him after the show, I said, I see your foot and it's only mostly tapping, one pedal and maybe moving to this one. And I said, I don't understand what's going on. And he was kind enough to sit down with me at the organ and show me exactly how he was setting the drawbars and using his left hand and his foot together to create his sound. And it was just opened my entire mind. I finally understood where that sound was coming from.
You couldn't find a better teacher, huh? Dr. Lonnie Smith, legend.
Yes. I couldn't believe he took the time. I was so nervous to go up and talk to him, and he was just the kindest, sweetest person ever, which we all know now that, we've all basked in his greatness.
No question. And let's talk about Dr. Lonnie a minute. I'll tell you guys a story, and I didn't know you were going to mention him, but yesterday, I get a chance to, I give Dr. Lonnie a call every now and then just to kind of keep in touch and kind of cheer him on because he's been going through some health issues for the last couple of years. Although he just had a brand new Blue Note album come out too, which is really cool. And so I was talking to him yesterday in the day, and I said, "How you feeling?" He said, "Fantastic." Well, he always says fantastic, and then I talked to his manager, Holly, and she says he's not doing so well, but he puts on a good front. So I got a call last night. It was about 8 o'clock my time, so that's about 11 o'clock Florida time where Dr. Lonnie lives. And it was Holly, and she put the phone up, and there was Dr. Lonnie playing his B3 that he's got sitting in his bedroom. And he was sounding great, and it was such an uplifting. I said, "You made my year just to hear that."
Oh, that's great. That brings up a good question. When is it okay to put a B3 in your bedroom? Because I wonder if there's an age cutoff that I can inform my wife. And
when you find out the answer, tell my wife because she tells me I'm going to be buried in one. Brian, tell us about Dr. Lonnie and what he means to you.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's always joking around. I'm sure you guys know this, but you'll sit down
our
next
listeners.
to him.
We know this stuff, but tell our listeners.
So, first of all, Dr. Lonnie is just like Jim said. He's a very gentle man, very nice, very smart and experienced, obviously. So if you are a Hammond organist, especially if you're at the show where we see each other most often, we're sitting around near these instruments. The doc will sit down and he'll kind of look the other way, and he won't talk to you, but he'll very slowly put his cane on your foot. And then he'll turn to you and he'll say, "You owe me money." I remember also one of my biggest memories of Doc was Akiko Soruga was at the booth, and we were taking Dr. Lonnie to lunch at the NAMM show, where you walk through this big exhibition hall, and we got to the food area, which is kind of in the side of the big convention center. And we couldn't make it more than 5 feet without the doc being mobbed by everyone. Like, everyone knew him and loved him, and he took time to speak with everyone. It took us like an hour to get to where we were going to eat, because so many people wanted to talk to him. And he makes time for everyone, so he's a great guy. On classic organ albums, Alligator Boogaloo being the one that maybe I associate most with him, and I'm a huge fan.
You know what? You can't play Hammond organ and not, well, I should rephrase that, because you can't play organ and not play Hammond organ, but you can't play organ and not be a fan of Dr. Lonnie.
He has such a witchy style too. Like, he's got some kind of voodoo stuff on it,
Yeah.
He also sings very, very well, and when you see him in concert, he's a riot. He makes funny jokes. He'll sing a ballad in the altissimo in his head voice.
Yeah.
He's a very entertaining, interesting person.
And he may be watching, because he promised last night that he was going to watch this show. I was telling him about this show.
Great. Hi, Doc. We love you.
We love you, Dr. Lonnie. I hope you're watching. And I played him a little bit of the track. I think this would be a nice segue into a premiere that we're going to have on Jam and Java tonight. This is a world premiere, I think. Now, our next guest can confirm this or not, but we all have these new Hammond SK Pros. Oh, you can't see mine now, but and it's a game-changing instrument that came out from Hammond organ just recently. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's officially released. Is it, Jim?
I don't think it's shipping yet, but it has been announced, and yes, it's official.
It is available, I guess, for purchase, but it's not shipping yet.
Yeah.
Soon, I guess. So, but the point is, so I called you guys up, said, why don't we do something where we get all three of us playing that? And I think I sent this to you guys on Saturday. Today is Monday. I sent you a track to play on. You guys played it, sent it back. I mixed it last night. Then I held the phone up to Dr. Lonnie so he could check it out. He says, oh, yeah, very cool. And, so I think we'll play this now. This is a song that was written by a guy named Ben Tucker. I met Ben Tucker when he was playing bass for Ramsey Lewis back in the day. And he wrote this song that is pretty well-known soul jazz song called Coming Home Baby. And so this is Coming Home Baby with Brian Charette, Jim Alfredson, and myself. All three of us are playing Hammond SK Pros, and we all have different sounds on them too. So check it out, Coming Home Baby. All right, guys. Nice job. You guys are amazing. I mean, I just sent you that stuff Saturday, and you guys rocked it. And we had no complications. Bravo.
That's the new gig, Robbie. That's the way we roll now.
Yeah.
It's a new world now.
Well, you're in your house doing tracks. You know, I've done one recording session since all of this crazy times has been happening.
Yeah, it is a new world, and if you play keyboards and you're most keyboard guys, like the three of us, have all sort of embraced technology and synthesizers. You get it from synthesizers and stuff, right? I mean, you had to learn it. You can see behind me, I've got a couple synths back there. I remember doing shows with that Oberheim 8 voice with Frankie back in the 70s. In between songs, I would have to put on headphones because I had 16 oscillators to tune up, manually between tunes. It was like crazy. So you kind of have to embrace that. But that came out pretty good. I should mention the band was playing with us. So and the sound. Well, the band is the drummer is Craig Pilo, who was Frankie Valli's drummer for 13 years, something like that. My brother Rex is the bass player. My brother and I have been playing together our whole lives, of course. And he was with Frankie Valli's band for 25 years. And guitar player is Fino Roverato, who is my main man on guitar out here. And then the horn players, we had some pretty all-star horn players. We had Harry Kim on trumpet, who's one of the great trumpet players in the country and the world. Phil Collins for 30 years, American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, et cetera, lead trumpet player. Gary Herbick's been on over 1,000 records on tenor sax. Bones Malone on trombone, who's pretty good. Bones Malone has been on a zillion, maybe the most famous trombone player in the country, if you want to, arguably. And then, and the Barry sax guy with those amazing scoops is the most iconic Barry sax player. That's Doc Kupka, who's on Barry sax on that track, with his scoops every a couple bars. And so that was the band. But you guys killed it.
You know what's funny about Bones Malone is he's a great friend of my friend Michael Dees, who we mentioned earlier. And he's actually been over to my studio before, my little tiny studio here.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, he's great. I love him.
Yeah, he is. He's and the crazy thing about Bones is he plays literally every wind instrument except the double reeds, from tuba to piccolo, and everything in between. It's insane. Nobody does that. And then he got the call to play bass for Frank Zappa.
That's right. I remember that.
Let's talk about this SK Pro for a minute. So, what sounds were you using on that, Brian Charette?
I was using a Wurlitzer A200 sound.
Isn't it amazing how Wurlitzers have come back too? That sound is so hip again.
Yeah. Of the electric pianos, that's my favorite. I do like a Rhodes with a Phase 90, though.
Yeah.
And what sound were you using, Jim?
I think I just stuck to the organ.
Yeah.
But
you had a cool organ thing. I was using. I had this. One of my basic settings here is my Jimmy. 3 drawbars out and then split with the split keyboard with the bass here. But then I went to that. In the middle, I went to that synthy thing. I think I have one here. It's like, because I love mini modes and all that stuff. And back in the day, that was part of my voice. And then kind of I got away from it because the different keyboards don't have all the nuance of the mini mode. But this thing. And so I'm loving this. This is going to be I connected right away with this. How about you, Brian? With this,
I did too. I was a very big fan of the SK1, especially because of its portability. This has all of those cool sounds. It's a little bit bigger, but it's built like a tank. I call it Darth Vader.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing I caught it when I saw it. It's also super handy to have. I live in New York, so it's very hard for me to get around to gigs. I walk a lot of times to my gigs because I live in the East Village. And this will make it so I only have to take one keyboard.
Yeah.
If I was going to some gig where I needed synth kind of sounds, I'd have to bring two keyboards and have to have a stand that was good for both of them. And in New York, that's not super easy when you start adding conditions like that, So I love the sounds. I love the Steinway piano.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that you can change the model organ that you're playing right from the menu. On SK1, you could do this, but it was more complicated. You would have to load some things up with the drive. This, you just navigate to the menu and just twist the wheels. So everything is really right there. It also has all of my favorite sounds from the library that went with the SK1 that were on the website that you used to download. Now they all seem to be in there to me. So yeah, really powerful. And, I play a lot of electronic music. Even though I play Hammond organ, I need synthesizer sounds and pad sounds and stuff like that a lot. So it really covers a lot of ground for me.
I could really see doing just a gig with just this keyboard. It's definitely that's what the cool thing about it, no question. How about you, Jim? Now, you've been playing this for you said a couple of years now.
Well, I got one in October. I've known about it for a couple of years. But
I got you. Uh-huh.
I got one in October and have been messing around with it since then. One of my favorite things to do with it is to layer that mono synth section in with the bass, with the organ bass, because sometimes organ bass can be a little difficult to decipher on the bandstand because it's such pure sine waves, So I've got a patch loaded up right here. Hopefully you can hear it, but it's like the organ bass with a synth bass in it. And you can, of course, set the level so there's like barely any in there. It just like helps fatten it up, and I can see really messing around with that in a funk context as well, making it like super funky, but still having the organ bass underneath there.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it a lot. And everything is pretty user-friendly. I see, we have a bunch of our HamFam brothers and sisters that are watching, and I see somebody.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Gary. Hi, Daisuke.
And here, look who just, Daisuke, there's Daisuke Kawai from Japan. So we have an international show today. We have people from Japan, we have people from Brazil, and we have people from Europe. So, and from the U.S., I hope. But I see that Daisuke just said, I worked with the developers on the SK Pro Sims very seriously.
And he deserves a ton of credit because the work that he's done on this thing it's amazing. Thank you so much, Daisuke. You have really made this instrument what it is. It's incredible.
Daisuke, thank you, Daisuke. Yes, amen to that, Jim. Okay. And the layout of the overall too, the user interface is so. You mentioned about menu diving a little bit when you're talking about the SK1, Ryan, and this one. Things are. It took a little bit of. It took me a whole lot of time to figure it out.
I just watched Jim's videos, and then it was super easy.
Yeah, Jim's videos. Yeah, he's got so many demo videos out there.
That's my go-to. If I need to know how to do something, I go to a Jim Alfredson video.
Hey, let's talk about Jim Alfredson, the product specialist, the product demonstrator. This guy is brilliant at that, isn't he? He knows everything.
Absolutely.
Not only does he play his heart out, he plays his tail off, but he knows it all too. I mean, he knows what's in everything.
I'm one of those nerdy guys that studied electronic books when I was a kid, and was always taking things apart, much to the chagrin of my parents. My dad actually had to go to the old electronic surplus stores and bring home old TVs and radios and stuff for me to take apart because I kept taking apart his own appliances. He kept getting really mad at me. I'm that kid, I want to know how it works. So
So you must have jumped into synthesizers earlier in your career too, huh?
My first synthesizer, believe it or not, was a Yamaha DX7. And I learned how to program FM synthesis because that's all I had. So that's how I learned synthesis. And when I finally got into like standard subtractive synthesis, like mini Moog synthesis, and I was like, oh wow, this is a lot easier.
Yeah, analog was easier than digital. You know, the 80s for me, because I was playing Hammond organs since the 60s, and Hammond and Rhodes and Mini Moog and the modular Oberheim and all these other analog synths, and that was like the sound. And then in the 80s, when the DX7s came out and that whole sound, I'm not sure. I hardly played my organ or my Rhodes for that whole decade of the 80s. The sounds were so out of fashion, you know?
Yeah.
But now
it didn't really come back. The organ didn't really come back, I think, until the early 90s. And a lot of it, I think, has to be laid at the feet of Joey DeFrancesco. He kind of brought that sound back, thankfully. And then, you know, all the guys that had come before him could finally get back to the organ, you know, which was nice. I'd rather hear Dr. Lonnie Smith on an organ and, you know, John Patton and all those guys that were, even my good friend Bill Hyde, he was doing a lot of trio gigs and playing synthesizers and stuff, and it's just like there's nothing wrong with that, but man, I just want to hear the beast, man. It just sounds so good.
It's funny how our tastes change. The sounds don't change, but the tastes change.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying, the Wurlitzer sound has come back.
Yeah.
And that's always been one of my favorite sounds. The Rhodes sound has come back. It's analog synthesis has come back in a huge way. Yeah. The Mini Moog sound and I just got one of the new Prophet 10 reissues.
I saw that.
Yeah, Sequential's making the Prophet again. It sounds incredible. It's a lifelong dream. I always wanted one when I was a kid.
You know, I still have a Prophet 10 in there, but it's an old one. And I saw the new one is a single manual. Is that right?
Single manual, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, the old one is a double manual, actually.
Yep. Do you know why that is?
No, I have no idea.
According to the lore, they tried to make a single manual Prophet 10, and it overheated to such an extent that they couldn't make it reliable at all. And so they gave it up for, you know, a couple of years, and then they decided to make it again. But this time, they essentially put two keyboards in, so the case was huge, so they could justify all the space around it so it wouldn't overheat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking vintage synthesizers, and we've got a guest in the back here who's waiting to come on. But before we go, I'm going to play a song that I did. I pulled out all my vintage synthesizers. I pulled out my my Oberheim modular 8-voice, my Mini Moog. I forget what else I used. So I did a bunch of stuff. But I'm going to play a song. It's called Will to Win, and it's got a real sports theme. It's what it takes to get ahead in anything you're doing. You've got to have that will to win, the will, that drive, that motivation, whatever. And so this kind of demonstrates those songs, and it goes like this.
Go to work before the sun is up, and don't return until the moon is in the sky. Every night, dreaming of the game. And when we're fighting just to stay alive, I know the spirit inside is gonna call my name, call my name. I count the time until the day arrives, and every moment I am closer to the prize. Alive, live the life I live. Never quit until we hit a wall, and then it's on before we've got it over again. Put me in and let the game begin. I hear the music getting me to the goal relentlessly. Will to win, drive the dream in me, determined to begin your song of victory. I hear you in my heart, sing your melody, born to play this part with your will to win within me. rolling up my sleeves to leave it all up on the beat and don't look back. Swing the bat with everything I have. I hear the sound as I hit the ball, flying over the wall. It's going, going, gone. I put my feet up on the solid ground. I hear the roar of the crowd cheer me on. As I run along, I feel the wind blowing in my face as I'm running the race and headed home again. Oh, put me in and let the fun begin. I hear your music getting me to the goal relentlessly. Will to win, drive the dream in me, determined to begin the song of victory. I hear you in my heart, sing your melody. Born to play this part with your will to win within me. A will to win, drive the dream in me, determined to begin your song of victory. Fly way up high, shine for all to see. Soaring in the sky, the will to win within me. There's only one thing left to do. Ooh, let's play too.
The Will to Win. Of course, that singer was, and she co-wrote that song with me, Sarah Nimitz. She's amazing. She also did the video, and she's great at videos, etc., etc. So we have in the green room, waiting in the wings, the Hammond organ artist liaison, senior product specialist, Papa Bear, Mr. Mr. Scott May. Let's see if I can get him into the show here. Let's see if I add him in. Ah, there he is, Brother Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Well, okay, a couple things first. The thing that you three guys did was total money. That was off the hook. The Sarah track that you just did was off the hook. When these two guys, when Charette and ALFREDSON get together, that's a very magical thing, you know. And Robbie, with you as part of that, well, come on. As you notice, I do not have a keyboard set up. I wouldn't dare.
Oh, what are you talking about? Not only is he the artist liaison, senior product specialist, Papa Bear, he is also the organist for a little group called the Ides of March with their hit record Vehicle.
Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, we this year is going to be it's going to be 55 years, 56 years. The original band's been together with all the original guys, and I'm the new guy. I've been with them for 32 years, 33 years, and we just keep going, you know. And hello,
Yeah.
hello, Duske. Boy, a lot of HamFam. I saw Toby Marshall.
Yeah, Toby
Lee
Marshall's
the great
on.
Toby Lee Marshall. We got to get him on this show, Robbie. You know, Toby and Greg Koch and Dylan Koch with the Coke Marshall trio. You know, there's a lot of great new organ trios up, and Toby is in one of those with the great Greg Koch on guitar and Greg's son on drums. But anyway, but lots of HamFam, and that's Gary Swan.
Gary Swan is watching, yeah.
Hello, Swanee. And you know, I don't know if you mentioned this yet because I missed the first like 15 minutes, But today is a very, very special day for the Hammond family because 5 years ago today, we mounted a concert here in Chicago to honor our dear departed brother, Greg Gronowski. And where we had 22 or 23 of the greatest Hammond organ players from every walk of life, from Dr. Lonnie Smith to the gospel guys, Reverend Jimmy Smith, Charles Miller was there, and we had Mark Stein from the Vanilla Fudge. Robbie, you were there. We did a tribute to the great
Jerry Corbetta.
Cherry Corbetta, Green Eyed Lady. I did a tribute to Lee Michaels, who isn't dead, but it was a tribute anyway. And it was such a great night. We had 5 Hammonds across the front of the stage.
That was so cool.
And it was so cool. Brian Shred, I wish you were there.
Yeah, we missed you, Brian.
You couldn't make it.
I think I was in another country, possibly, or far away.
I think you were in Czechoslovakia at the time, but I have.
Check
by
here,
the
Scott.
way,
I think I've got this. Oh, that here.
there you go.
There's all the people that were there.
Yeah, if put that picture back up. I mean, talking about an all-time, on the left, the big guy with the hair part in the middle. That's suit and tie guy who did a, and that's Greg, by the way, all the way over on the left. But the big guy there with the purple tie, suit and tie guy who did really out synth stuff to open the show with Hammond organ. And then you see Stephen Eckler in there, and you see John Hammond, Maureen Lacoste, Adam. You see Robbie and Tommy Learshin, the great Tommy Learshin, Pete Gallinari, Doc, Reverend Jimmy Smith. Just everybody who's there. It was a great night. Jimmy Alfredson on the left. What a great night. What a great night.
Memorable. And we did that as memorial for the great Greg Gronowski, and as you say, it was 5 years ago
today.
Today, huh?
Actually, no, it was 5 years ago. No, 5 years ago today. But here's what's cool. Holding in my hand, you see this little drive here?
Yeah.
This is the video of the entire concert.
You're kidding.
No, this is courtesy of the great John Hammond.
Who is watching, by the way?
Who's watching? Hello, another absolutely tremendous HamFammer. And I got one of these days. I just have to mix this down and cut it out. Maybe Jimmy Alfredson, you can help me do this. But it's pretty good. John is a great cameraman, and we've got the entire show on that little drive right there.
Wow.
Well, we need to get that out into the world. No question about it. So let's do it.
Well, the rights are going to be. We're going to have to get a lot of rights for that one, but.
Well, you know what? The reality is, if there's no revenue source, I'm sure if you talk to every artist there, that can be worked out.
Everybody came to that show, to Chicago, on their own dime. We raised money for the Gronowski family.
Yes. And
I was lucky enough to produce that show. And when I called everybody, and I said, look, there's no budget. You're going to have to get there on your own. And they said, that's not a problem. And everybody did get there on their own. And everybody played for, just for the fun of it.
Yep.
And, you talk about Dr. Lonnie. This is an extraordinary man, extraordinary artist. That he came upstairs. You hear the words. Sometimes the jazz guys look down on rockers. Well, not Doc. Doc came up and sat backstage, and he listened to all the rock and roll guys, and he was digging it all the way. And he was so pent up at the end. I gave Jimmy Smith. Everybody had a little limit on their time, but I gave Jimmy Smith all the time because I wanted Jimmy to do what they call a homegoing for Greg, which is Greg never had a proper wake because he never wanted one, but we wanted to give him a send off, and we had 5 organs across the stage and singers, and and Jimmy just took the entire theater to church, and the great Ron Onesti gave us the Arcata Theater for the night. And to this day, people come up to me when I'm out playing with the eyes or I'm doing anything else, and there's people who said to me that was the single greatest concert they were ever seen or heard in their life.
That was a special night, man.
Yeah, certainly was.
You know, Jim
Let's do it
Alfredson,
again sometime.
as you mentioned, Jim Alfredson was there, and Jim, I remember that it was you and me, and now I may not remember everybody who did that. We did that tribute thing. Maureen, I know, played. Peter Gallinari sang. We did Green Eyed Lady.
Yeah.
And you played, and that's on YouTube. I've seen somebody took a video of that somewhere along the line, and I don't know who did that, but it's out there, and it was a cool thing. Let me get everybody back in here.
That was one of the first Hammond tunes I learned as a young man. Actually, was Green Eyed Lady. I used to play it with my dad.
Wow,
love that thing.
Well, talking Hammond, talking Jerry Corbetta. And I'm sure that a lot of the audience doesn't know, but if you know the song Green Eyed Lady, it was a band called Sugarloaf. Sugarloaf was Jerry Corbetta, basically. There was a band, but Jerry Corbetta was the lead singer, he was the songwriter, and he was the organ player. And that song was his, you know. And then later, right around 1980, because he was also a brilliant songwriter and an incredible musician, and we became great friends. But he joined Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, so we had two keyboard players for a number of years, Jerry Corbetta and me, and we always did Green Eyed Lady in the show. And then, you know, I do my Jam for Jesus every year, which is a Christmas concert I do. It's done now for literally 28 years. He played at that every year for years and years. And even when he moved up to Fresno, he would fly down just to do that show, which was amazing. But we lost him just a few years ago, and it was so sad to lose him. But he was one of the brilliant Hammond organ artists.
What a sound he had on that organ.
Oh yeah, I do that. That riff. When you play it, even kids today, young kids, they know that riff.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you go in the SK Pro,
yeah,
there's a stop, there's a patch, a combination called Green Eyes.
You're right.
I did it, and we've got that. I managed to find stems of that song, and I've got that clavinet organ bit. That's that for that lick, and then if you put by the way, we're talking about the SK Pro. I use the synthesizer, you know, the mono synthesizer to make a faux percussion, because I had the organ set up to do the organ parts in the right hand.
Yeah.
But I use the percussion. I use the synthesizer to make a faux third percussion in the left hand, along with the clavinet, and there you go.
Well,
lots
Hammond
of
organ,
things inside that.
You and I were talking earlier. We were talking about how Hammond organ. I mean, there is no other organ, right? I mean, it's like Harley Davidson of musical instruments. It's the best of the best. But can we talk about what you were talking about as far as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, yes. I'm going to try to launch. I'm lucky enough, being the artist liaison. We've got 400 people in the Hammond family.
Wow.
400 artists, and if you look at other companies, and God bless them all, and you look at their artist lists, and you look at our artist lists, I don't think anybody's, maybe Ernie Ball on guitar, you know, but what are you talking about when you've got guys like, you know, like Charette and Alfredson and you, Robbie. Then you go to Rick Wakeman and Greg Raleigh and Rod Argent, Then you go to the gospel guys like Reverend Jimmy Smith, and you got the pop guys like Steve Eckler, and you have the legends and then we've got just people who. But anyway, I believe that Lawrence Hammond and Donald Leslie should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like Leo Fender and some of the other great guys who invented the instruments and the tools that we use to make our music.
Where would rock and roll be without the Hammond organ? Tell me that one.
Well, it'd be a lot less soul, I'll tell you that.
Amen.
You know.
Hey, there are so many cool Lawrence Hammond stories and Donald Leslie stories, and you must have one in your pocket there to pull out, Jim Alfredson. What do you any Lawrence Hammond stories that come to mind that our audience might like?
I'm a big fan of his clocks.
Yeah.
And I gave one to Brian.
I have one right here on my desk. You can't see it, but it's right there.
Yeah, people don't realize that he was not a musician and he was just an inventor, right? And he started out with clocks.
He actually, what he did is he invented a motor. A motor, because back in the early part of the 20th century, electricity was actually pretty new, and there was no such thing as an electric motor. And all the clocks that people had were wind-up clocks or a cuckoo clock where you pulled the thing off. So there was no such thing as a electric clock. And so he was thinking of something to do with this motor, and he says, "Wait a minute, it's going to turn no matter." And the reason that he invented a synchronous motor, because you would plug something in the wall and you never knew what kind of voltage you were going to get. And if the voltage was running fast, a motor would run fast, and if the voltage was down, the motor would run slow. So you couldn't get a reliable clock. But Lawrence Hammond invented a motor that no matter what voltage came into it, or amps, or, Jimmy, you could probably just discuss that, because I'm not a nerd like that. And I say that with a lot. I say that with a lot of love. I'm just an idiot, But he invented this motor that no matter what voltage came into it, it would run at the same speed. So he invented a clock, and he became very, 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 very famous. This clock I have an old, what they call a cathedral clock, on my desk here, and in my Mac here, which is connected to the atomic clocks and everything, all the most accurate clocks in the world. My Hammond clock keeps perfect time.
Wow.
With the atomic clocks.
Wow.
And just like a Hammond organ, if this thing stops, there's a little wheel in the back. You got to spin it, start it up, just like a Hammond organ. But when the Depression hit, nobody had any money for a clock, and so in the late 20s and in early 30s, Mr. Hammond decided, what can I do with this? Well, there was an instrument. This is going to get into a long, boring geschichte. He invented his organ, and the rest is history.
I think it was 1932? Is that the first year of the Hammond organ?
34.
34.
34. And then Donald Leslie, 6 years later, was an inventor, and he liked the Hammond organ, but he wanted to make it sound more like a theater pipe organ.
Well, there's a story to that, but I want you to save it, because I'm going to play a song for you guys. These guys, none of you guys have heard this, because I just finished the mix earlier this afternoon, and then put together a quick video. So this is 3 SK1s, no other instruments other than a drum loop, just a 3 jazz. SK Pros. Yeah, so thank you for correcting me. 3 SK Pros. And just the three of us, plus the drum loop. And it's a song I wrote called What Me Worry, and these two brilliant musicians, I sent them a chart and sent them a track to play on, and they sent it right back to me and just were burning on it. And you'll hear some of the diversity that you can get with just the SK Pro. It goes like this: What Me Worry. Yeah, Jim got the last.
Outstanding. Whoa! Hot damn, Jamal. You know, and I gotta say, let me put on my Hammond cap for a second. All that organ stuff was done straight into the board, wasn't it, Robbie?
Yep.
That was digital Leslie.
Straight in the board now. Digital Leslie, no effects, I didn't even use any reverb. I mean, any reverb on board. Everything. How about you guys? Now, were your tracks just straight in?
Straight in.
I was playing the Steinway piano sound.
Sounds
right,
so great, man.
Yeah. Wow. Just great, guys. I mean, you guys together are just like butter, man. It's just wonderful, wonderful playing, just wonderful, and you could see between Charette and Jimmy there that you guys were just like getting in. You were in the moment and in the groove and in the thing, and I mean, when you played something, it just fit perfectly into Robbie's lead. It was Robbie's song, and Robbie took the lead there. But you guys were just like, and the part that makes me so proud is that I didn't smell one little tiny bit of ego between you three guys. And they say that keyboard players are the worst. No, not HamFam. Not in this.
I agree.
Not in this family. We want to hear what the next guy. We want to hear what the next guy has to play for our own enjoyment. It's selfish, and you guys just orchestrated that beautifully. Oh my goodness,
blew my mind because I played that song because it's my tune. So I played it, and I thought it would lend itself nicely to a trio. And I sent it to guys without any direction, really. I said, play whatever you feel like playing, and you guys just killed it, and it was perfect. Now, what sound were you using, Jim? I know Brian, you said you were doing the piano, the Steinway piano from that. What were you using, Jim?
I think I was using the Rhodes, the EP2 Rhodes with the, I don't think it had the phaser on. I think it was just the straight one. Yeah, it's one of my favorite sounds on there. I love that thing.
And it had to me, it almost had like a guitar, like you might hear a Jimmy Smith trio with a guitar player. You know, you kind of approach it with that kind of vibe.
Probably because I'm not a piano player.
Interesting.
Hey, Robbie, what organ patch we use? Is that homemade or is that
it's a slight derivation of one of the Stockmans. I forgot what I used, but it was I have it as one of my presets, and I call it Robbie Jimmy, and it's basically a split keyboard right there with it, and then couple the bass, to the left hand. So I've still got and it's a basic 3 drawbars with percussion, stock Jimmy Smith kind of an approach.
What model are you using? Is that the B3 A100? Which one?
What model? What?
Which drawbar model are you using?
I don't even know the one that was stock that came in.
Well, Mr. Alfredson, I think that's time for you to get that your little tone wheel tweak and get that C2 model done up for the SK Pro.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been wanting to do, but you know what? It sounds so good out of the box. It's like it might be moot at this point.
I gotta tell a story on Mr. Charette there. There's so many people. I mean, we've got we're Hammond junkies here, but there are a lot of people out there who sing the praises of other instruments, and what are you gonna do? I was in Canada. I was in Toronto, and I didn't know Brian was in town, and so I was there doing clinics for Long and McQuaid, and somebody says, "Well, we can't come to your show, to your thing tonight because we're going to see Brian Charette." I went, "What? Brian's in town?" And he was, "What is it? The Rex? What's it called?" Brian?
The Rex in Toronto, yeah.
So anyway, and I'm not going to snitch on the guy who was with me, but I went to that show with 2 of the greatest jazz guys, Hammond guys in Toronto. And earlier that day, one of the guys told me that he didn't care for the SK1. He thought it was uh, he thought it was not of great quality. It says it's not as good as a certain Scandinavian organ, and or an Italian one. It's just not the best. So anyway, so we sat at the table, and Brian did his show on an SK1. That's it.
Yeah.
And he started playing, and about 3 songs in, this guy stood up, grabbed me by my collar, and said, "I'm wrong." That thing is, well, he used a couple words that I don't want to use on this classy podcast, but you can use your imagination. That thing sounds fantastic, to use another F word, and it was so edifying to me because Shred killed it playing an SK1. So with the resources that this instrument has, I can't wait to see what it's in its infancy. We're all discovering this thing. So I can't wait to see what everybody's going to do with this instrument. And
I'm
it's
sure
going to.
in Brian's brilliant fingers, it's going to be amazing what he comes up with.
We've got the crew we have right now. I mean, our core crew, of course, is yourself, Robbie, and Brian and Jim, Jimmy. Tommy Learshin is going in the piano world. He's a piano guy, and he's gonna do that. Reverend Jimmy Smith out of Atlanta is going to take it in the gospel world. I'm going to do my rock and roll thing, and Stephen Eckler's going to do,